Everybody, whoever they are, has had dreams of escape from the daily grind. I've been making films one way or another for more years than I care to remember. My business has been realizing other people's dreams. This time I was going to share my own with a lady of a certain age I've been in love with for a long time. There she is, my Leo. She's had a facelift, of course, but she used to work as a tug on the Thames. We converted a barge which we call the Leontine. Even so, what the Leo needed was a workhorse of an engine which would run for months and months without fuss. A reconditioned one from a London double-decker fitted the bill nicely, but we had to scalp the poor old Leo to put it in. We went for solid tackle, steel hawsers to link the boats, with the 50-ton webbing strops we'd need to lift them out of the water. That was Ray's advice. Ray Julian, one of the elite band of licensed watermen on the River Thames, who was going to come with me. Handling a boat of this size is a tricky business. You have to know exactly what you're doing, and Ray did. Thanks very much. Okay, thanks a lot. The Port of London must have seen the start of so many voyages, other men's dreams of gold or discovery. Ours was to take us through Belgium and France, down the Rhine, through Germany, to the headwaters of the Main. We crossed the watershed of Europe by lorry and glide down the Danube to Vienna. At last, the great day came. Leaving London by river was like slipping out of a grand restaurant via the back door, past the rubbish bins. Derelict and defunct, the old Beckton gasworks made an ideal Saigon for Stanley Kubrick. Woolwich Radio, Leontine.
Leontine, Woolwich.
Permission to pass through the barrier, please.
What's your position, Leontine?
Is the barrier in sight?
Yes. Are you inwards or outward bound, over?
Woolwich Radio, Leontine, outward bound. In the barge were 3 cabins, a good-sized kitchen with a diesel cooker, a saloon with a table from an old monastery, a bathroom with a midget bath, and 2 loos prone to blocking. For power, we had a generator and a bank of batteries. On deck, there was a crane. Out in the estuary, I took care to avoid the American ammunition ship which sank in the war and can't be demolished for fear of shattering windows in Southend 15 miles away. The sea air sharpened our appetite. A few cables away to port, we saw this fishing smack trawling for sole. SOS is the Universal Maritime Distress Signal and stands for Save Our Souls. We were going to save ours for supper. Final errand to the Chatham Ropery. They say it used to be the smartest mooring in Britain when the Royal Navy was here. This hall, where they make the rope, is 120 fathoms long. rope you can make here?
Oh, they're 120 fathom normally.
120 fathom. That's a coil, is it?
That is a coil. Finished coil, what the chap's reading now.
So in ordinary terms, that's 220 meters, right?
Yeah, 220 meters. Yeah.
And that's a lot of rope, isn't it?
Oh, it is a lot of rope, yeah.
Although they still make rope here on a commercial basis, Chatham has been turned into a living museum since the Navy left.
You'd like to sign that for me?
Thanks.
Where's the
Pax Britannica was maintained for more than 100 years by warships built at Chatham. This big one? And what about one? And what small one?
Here comes from Russia.
From whereabouts?
From the Riga area of Russia.
Riga, that's up there north, isn't
that's
it?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we may be going there.
Oh, that's really useful. We
go
can
home.
see where the material comes from.
Right.
There we are.
Thank you very much indeed. That's very kind of you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. The Fighting Temeraire, the Victory, the Revenge, some of the great ships of the line were constructed in these huge Georgian sheds. My next stop was the flag loft. You haven't by any chance got a Belgian courtesy flag and an Austrian courtesy flag, have you?
I'm afraid we don't have one in stock at the moment, but we can make you one within the hour.
Could you really?
Yes, sir.
Give them the pattern in the flag loft and these girls will make any flag you want, including Royal Standards. I needed courtesy flags for all the countries I thought we'd be going through. You're supposed to fly the flag of the country you're in from the mast and the ship's own national flag from the stern. This was our last chance to stock up on British gauge screws before we crossed over to metric threads in France. Gonna put it in with the other two friends. Bet you never thought you'd be in there tonight. This appears to be emergency. It's getting a bit...
Smoke detector.
The smoke detector's gone all on fire! And actually we're just cooking Dover sole the way it should be done. Tomorrow we're off to Whitstable down the Swale. But from Orr Creek onwards, when we get out into the estuary, it may get rough and we'll have to tow the barge. I think we'll need some local advice, so I'm going to call on Laurie and Don, the experts. Going down the Swale kept us inland on a sheltered shortcut to Whitstable. These marshes were smuggling country in the old days. Dickens wrote about them in Great Expectations. His father had been paymaster at the Chatham dockyard. Why is this lovely barge called the Port Light?
No idea. Because the owner, when he had it built, wanted it called Port Light, I suppose.
Laurie and Don are the leading sailing barge experts on the south coast, and there isn't much they don't know about the winds and the tides. The whole process of what attracts people to the sea and to water is very mysterious, but I find myself being drawn to it terribly.
Yes.
Why do you think that might be? I mean,
I don't know. I think most people in England, certainly in the coastal areas, are attracted to it. I'm saying attracted to it rather than be attracted by it. Well, there's a lot of difference, really. I think we are attracted to it.
that's why there's so many marinas full of boats, aren't there?
Well, I think so, yes. I
We should never go out.
True. Well, it's a shame, that is. That's why I never call this place a marina. It's not a marina, it's a boatyard. And whole loads of men running about in wide overalls, and because they cost money. And if you have lots of men running about in wide overalls, then you can't have Tom and Dick and Harry. And we like Tom and Dick and Harry. It's just as much as we do to Pierre Thompson, whatever his name is. Or whatever.
I had 7 years up there, and during that time I'd done every job on the firm but only office work.
Yeah?
boat building, barge building, canal maintenance, bricklaying, plumbing, edging, ditching, crane driver, lighterman, you name it.
You've done it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it stands you in good stead.
Yeah, I don't think I've lost through it. I didn't make much out of it. The pay was a bit low, but I learned things.
Well, we're going off on this trip pushing our barge, which has raised a few eyebrows down the Thames as we went down. But we shall be towing it across the channel.
Yes, we'll tow it.
It's quite windy. Do you think we should tow it to Whitstable this afternoon, or?
Well, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to give you some indication of what you're going to get by towing. I think if you haven't done anything at sea with her by towing, then I think I would. And if I come part way down with you, with the even steering, then we can make sure all goes well.
I think we'd better get ready for the tide now.
Right, there's
a few things to do.
We'll be ready when you are.
Jolly good.
And we'll escort you down towards Whitstable.
That's very, very simple. The evening
spearing
was Laurie's Leo. It was festooned with fenders, which gave it a gypsy peddler look. When we cross the channel, we're likely to get much bigger swells, and we're going to need a much longer tow rope. The art of towing is very mysterious and not to be tackled by amateurs. Only last year I towed the barge down the Thames, and at one point I tried to turn into the tide, and the barge had ridden me down, pinning me to the wheelhouse with the tow rope, which had become like a steel bar. Bones were crushed, and I was laid up in hospital for 6 weeks. One of the things that I had learned was that the tow rope had to be attached forwards of the centre of the tug, otherwise it's impossible to tow the barge in a straight line. They say that when the north wind blows, it takes one look at that face and blows back in the opposite direction. Our towing trials seem to have been a success. I thought we were ready for the channel. We said goodbye to Laurie and Don, who headed back to their muddy haven for tea and more yarns. We chose the little fishing port of Whitstable, famous for its oysters, to be our base camp for an assault on the English Channel, the world's busiest shipping lane. Whelks by the bag. What's the difference between a native Whitstable oyster and other types of oyster?
Well, to be slightly technical, they're two entirely different beasts. This is a Crassostria gigas, and it grows all over the world. This is the native oyster. Again, it grows in warmer countries. It prefers warmer water and deeper water. It's an entirely different shape. Its method of reproduction is entirely different. But the difference, the main difference between the Pacific oyster and the native is the price. We sell Pacific oysters at the door for 25 pence each, whereas these little chaps possibly £1 or so, you see. If you want these, you have to go to Wheeler's Oyster Bar, because Delia Fitz, the lady that runs that, and she will be delighted to show you some Whitstable natives.
Could you show us how to open an oyster?
They're not difficult to open.
Hey, well, I keep stabbing my hand every time I...
What are you using to open them with? That's the problem. You've got to have an oyster knife. I like, because I've got a fairly small hand, I like a long-handled knife. It mustn't bend.
No, right.
And preferably it shouldn't be sharp.
Right.
Otherwise, you've got to go into the heel, but not dead, because you're putting all the... You're trying at the most part of the oyster. A little bit to the side.
To make the sound.
All it is a little wriggle. And that's it.
Right.
Once the oyster knife's in, tiny twist, and cut it. Like that. But you do need, as far as I'm concerned, a little bit of lemon.
Right.
Yeah?
Some of that.
No.
And perhaps we could have...
The soup is good. That is good.
And you haven't got any lobster by any chance, have you?
I think we could find you some. We've only got live ones.
Oh, we'll manage that. Oh, they don't nip us.
So we can find you. There's that one.
Oh, yeah, they're alive, aren't they?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, that's lovely. What can we put them in? We've got a bag, a plastic bag.
How about this? And then you can walk along with the claws hanging out.
How much really for this?
Millions.
I thought I'd grill them. A quick incision in the back of the neck with the point of a knife. More humane than plunging them live into boiling water.
All because we've got no lid for that.
One of the last things we had to do was to load the car on at high tide and then plug the portholes for a choppy crossing. We planned to be off on the morning tide. The morning came with a high wind and a big swell. For 4 days we rode miserably at our mooring alongside the piles, listening to every nuance of the forecast. A great depression swept in from the Atlantic and over us. Laurie's advice was to get a decent-sized tug and make a dash for it at the first break in the weather.
(1988). There are warnings of gales in Trafalgar.
Yes, I wonder if you can possibly help me. I'm lying at Whitstable at the moment, and I've got a small tug and a 57-foot lighter. And I was wondering where I could get towed across, both of us, by a larger tug. We can't really go in more than force 3. To the rescue, the Sir Aubrey. Though even she couldn't tow us over in a blow like this. I'm afraid it's not good weather for a few days, and I reckon Tuesday. Alan, the ever laconic captain of the Sir Aubrey, confirmed the obvious. We were going to be stuck here for a few more miserable days. We planned our route with enough care for a second D-Day. At last, a better forecast. How long the fine spell would hold was anyone's guess, but we were ready to make our dash for it. We were expecting a choppy ride off the North Forelands where the tides cross. We broke through into calmer waters, the sun came out, and suddenly we were with the big boys in the busiest shipping lane in the world. Alan raised the tricolour. There at last were the gates of Europe. A leash for her moment of glory. She wasn't bad for a wrinkly of 63. Exhausted petrels, the Leo convoy huddled beneath Sir Aubrey's wing. Calais harbour. We'd made our first great step and reached the continent.